and what my plans are for the spring. So the first one is the social services spotlight that I did with Derek from the communications department at the city. And that is to increase awareness and accessibility to organizations serving North Liberty residents. We recorded interviews with 15 agencies from Lynn County and from Johnson County. And the interviews are posted now on, most of them are posted now on North Liberty's YouTube and Vimeo channels, and the spotlights, which rotate every 6 months or every 6 weeks, include social media posts from the city and the library. And then the library is also highlighting agencies in displays. I've made some displays with cards, brochures, photos, and then some library materials that relate to the services that each agency provides. And here are a list of the 15 agencies. So as you can see, there's a wide variety of different agencies. I'm not going to read through them all, but as you can see, it was a nice mix. We had a really good response. I contacted probably over 30 different organizations, and so 15 I felt was a pretty good number. and keeping this in mind, I think this is a project that could be ongoing. Like, this could happen again. Like, there were enough of people that expressed interest that it could definitely be something that kept going. So the questions, here they are: how North Liberty residents can access services, how agencies are funded, and how community members can help with that, how each organization was impacted or has been impacted by the pandemic, and what other agencies and organizations does each one collaborate with, and what do those relationships look like, and then what projects are underway and moving forward. So here is one of the current displays in the library, table to table. Let's see. Sorry. Oops. Ooh. And Big Brothers, Big Sisters. So that's that. And they're right up in front of the library by the entrance and the main desk. And like I said, they go for about 6 weeks. And it was nice too to have the agencies come, because I think we're going to be able to collaborate with some in the spring, especially like with the Iowa City Senior Center and possibly legal aid on some programming in the library.
And Amy, I think you might have, I don't know if you said it or not, but on each one of the displays, there's a QR code that folks can scan and then go straight to the page for that agency too, which I thought was a great idea.
I didn't even know that.
There is. It is
wow. There. That's great.
I believe that's what they said they were doing.
Yeah, I know there's been a lot of, it's turned out really nicely, I think. So let's see. The next thing that I'm working on is doing surveys. The one that I've currently am running is a survey for older adults, 50 and older. And that is a Qualtrics survey offering a $25 Bluebird gift card to people. We've shared it at the Senior Connection lunches and then at outreach at the older adult communities in North Liberty. And that was also shared on social media and had a big response. However, I have learned with Qualtrics to not offer a gift certificate, because we had over 500 responses from people who were just trying to get the certificate from like all across the United States. So I've done a lot of cleaning of the data that I've gathered for that one so far. But that one has been good. That's just, we are looking at collecting basic demographic information like library use information, computer use at home and in the library, and then programs desired. And we also added on a question about the option of a wellness or fitness facilities that specifically near the library for older adults if people had an interest in that. And then the community-wide survey is going to be in the spring, and that's going to focus a lot, I think, on underserved populations in North Liberty. I'm really hoping to get it out into the community. I'm going to have it be paper and online, and some people are translating it into French and Spanish. And also maybe I'm thinking about going to like some of the mobile home parks and trying to reach out there just to, really, people who may not be able to access the library or even know about the library. So we're going to get some demographic information, including language, household size, again, library use, access to technology, and what services the library might develop, how the library might be more accessible to people. And then the last one here, Hope House, that will also be in the spring, and people leaving incarceration, 6 judicial, and ways that the library needs that people have when they're reentering the community, and ways that the library might serve them through programming, like with jobs or getting connected with healthcare services, or just any of the things that people need when they're coming out of incarceration. So the purposes of the surveys, just to inform programming materials and services and identify improvement opportunities as well as what's working well. And then just to understand how people are hearing about North Liberty Library and are learning about the library services, and if people are aware of services that are available at the library. And then data for future grant writing and funding requests. That's going to be a useful element of that. So this is going to be my third major thing that I've been doing at the library is grant writing, and that's been fun for me. The first one was that I did was granted, and that was really exciting, $5,000 for senior tech. And then the other ones, I did this Riemann Foundation, and that was a wish list, and I really focused that on kids and families. And it was an open amount, and it seemed like it was really, like there were a lot of things that the library can use, so that was fun, to make that and to be able to understand like all of the things, that would be useful to the library. And then I just submitted the Random House Penguin one for Wi-Fi hotspots. That's for 5 Wi-Fi hotspots, $2,500. And then the Iowa Women's Foundation one, they're on a regular calendar year, so we'll submit that in January, $1,000 for the Embody Embrace program, which is something that's already been going on. And lastly, I've been getting in touch with a lot of foundations and learning a lot about different foundations and the ways they can help, and kind of keeping a list of that. We've also been working on, and there's 2 other people writing grants, and we've been working on keeping a database of grants that are issued each year, and just different information, like community information, since it's changing a lot. North Liberty's grown so much, and it just kind of went over that threshold of rural to more like I don't know, I guess it would be urban. I don't know what the next step up is, but just keeping information all in one place so it's easier to apply for funding when those opportunities arise. It's easier and faster. So in the spring semester, I'm planning to do an ear hustle. It's a podcast. And there's also a book, an ear hustle book now. We're going to do a podcast discussion group. And I think we're going to have that kind of be hybrid, depending on COVID, in the library and via Zoom. We wanted to make it, I wanted to make it a podcast too, because I think that's a little more accessible to people. I mean, not everybody's super into reading. And at the same time we do that, we're going to have speakers come in who are knowledgeable about the different topics discussed in the podcasts. For example, we're going to have someone from the Inside Out reentry community come and talk about reentry. We're having somebody come and talk about restorative justice. And I'm not sure who we're going to get, but I'd like to get somebody to come and talk about books for people who are incarcerated and the access to books, because now the state of Iowa has made it so that people who are in prison, they all have to buy their books through vendors that are contracted with the state. And they are not able to have third parties, family members, friends, send them books anymore. So it's really, that's something I feel really passionate about, getting that more accessible. I mean, it would be nice if the library could donate, some books to the prison or different organizations, but that's no longer possible. So in conjunction with the podcast discussion group, we're going to have reentry simulation, which is something that the city has hosted before, and that's with Inside Out, where they come and people can kind of find out what it's like to be re-entering the community after being incarcerated and understanding the barriers faced by individuals in that situation. So I'm also going to be working on implementing the senior tech programming from the grant. We've been talking quite a bit about that and how that's going to look. It's a lot of iPads, and it's going to be some classes to hopefully improve access to people, especially during COVID. I think a lot of people were isolated, and that's really where I had that idea from. My mom's older, and she's kind of tech averse, but I think just having a class like that and having a learning opportunity like that's going to be important for a lot of people. And at the same time, having access to the iPads that we got that they are hopefully going to be able to check out for a week or two at a time, and then maybe ultimately get their own, but also having a Wi-Fi hotspot at each of the 3 community living places, so people can use the Wi-Fi. And then, like I mentioned earlier, collaboration with some of the agencies that are part of the social services spotlight. And then I'm going to continue grant writing, focusing on increasing tech access and getting more Wi-Fi hotspots to hopefully, make that program more robust and be able to check out Wi-Fi hotspots to people who don't have access at home. And then implementing more library accessibility. I know one of the things we talk about a lot is a hearing loop to help make meeting rooms more accessible to individuals. And then, like I mentioned, individuals leaving incarceration and any other additional opportunities that arise. I think that's it. I am thankful to be doing my practicum at the library, and I'm looking forward to the spring semester. And if you have any questions, now's the time.
We've been really appreciative of Amy's energy and efforts. She's fantastic. If we could keep her, we would.
So just a quick question. How big a response did you get from your survey that you did already? That you said you
Well,
up the data.
So we have some paper surveys at the library, and I'm thinking there might be maybe 20 there, but after I cleaned everything out of all the responses that were from all over the country, people all different ages, there's really only like 35. So about 50, 60 total, hopefully by the end.
Okay.
Not as many as I was hoping for.
I think it's still a great snapshot to give us information. I think we'll still get good info from it.
Absolutely.
And the hearing loops that Amy's talking about, I don't know if we've talked about that at this board meetings or not. That's something Jen has kind of taken under her wing and wanted to do. The idea is to put those in the meeting rooms to help people with hearing impairments so that they can attend meetings and hear successfully in those. She's looked into cost and things. It just has not. And we've got a couple different companies and they're saying two different things about what our needs are and disagreeing on it. So that makes it a little challenging because we're definitely not the experts. So we're going to have to do a little more research, and I think we reach out to maybe some more people with more expertise than us. But if we're able to do that, there's only one other library near us, or I don't even know where it is, but I believe there's only one other library in the state that has that offering. So it would be really a great thing to add to our services. So if no one has questions, we'll let you go, Amy, unless you want to hang out with us and listen to the rest of our excitement.
Well, I'm good. I appreciate you having me, and it was good to see you all, and I hope you have a good holiday.
Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Amy.
Thank
What
you.
you're doing for the library. All right, exciting stuff. Okay, now we'll be moving on to the other reports, budget, director, et cetera, et cetera.
Here, I gotta get myself unmuted here. We'll run through budget stuff. So we're starting to see a little glimpse of some personnel stuff coming across. It is not completely there, but we're getting there. She's starting to input data, and they've started to do some, I believe in the next couple of months, we'll be doing our timesheets through the program as well. So we're pretty excited to have it moving in that direction. Overall, though, the budget is looking really good. We are at there is a friends report, which I just kind of skipped over, but you guys have seen that. So if you have any questions, please let me know. They did really well with their cookie walk, and they just got a check today from Shields for $3,000, which is an annual thing Shields does. Very generous and lovely. They usually have a day of giving when we get to go and accept those checks, but obviously with COVID, they've kind of put a halt to that. So our repair and maintenance and utilities budget, which is the one where the contracts and things come out of, is as always high. It's at 68% because it's paid up front. Average is 50%. We are halfway through another fiscal year, which is insane to me. And then contractual services and commodities are right on target where they should be. So that's where we are with the budget. And if you guys have questions, I can answer those. Otherwise, I can just keep flying. Okay, I'm hearing no questions, so we'll keep rolling. So we do have a new city holiday. I just wanted to let you guys know. They've switched out Martin Luther King Jr. Day for Good Friday in acknowledgement of Martin Luther King and recognition. So the library will be closed on that day this year, which we're all pretty happy about that as we move into this more, trying to be very aware of our EDI work. So that's a good segue into the next thing, which is the JEDI committee that we formed, which one of our staff, Chris, our IT guy, said we should call the JEDI. What is it, Scott? You probably know. I don't even know. It's a group of JEDI people together in a group. I don't know what it's called. It's not committee, but he suggested we call them that and have them all wear robes. But we're not going to do that at this time. JEDI is actually the equity, diversity, and inclusion, but we're adding the term justice to the beginning of that. Maybe they'll all get t-shirts at some point. We are launching that committee in January. We just started kind of talking through some details. We actually want this to be very staff driven. So Jen and I are taking a step back from it. It's really hard. We both were kind of like, oh, we both want to do it. But we're trying to let the staff make these decisions. So the committee will work on writing their own values, their own core chart, their charge, all of the things, and then they'll get started with the work. We have some ideas for what that work could look like, and they have a list of things. So the committee is listed here, just Amy, Andrew, Dara, who's one of our part-time staff, who's very involved and interested, also writing grants for us. She's great. And then Emily, Kelly, and Melanie. And Kelly's mainly offered to help with some outreach coordination of things to do with that committee. So we are excited about that. And if you guys have questions, just wave your hand at me or stop me. I always feel like a talking head at these meetings. The strategic planning is also being launched. That is technically supposed to be due by our accreditation date, which is March. That is not going to happen. So we'll be asking for an extension and hopefully he's really good about giving extensions from the state. With COVID going on, our strategic plan went through 2020, and it was just such an odd time. I know some libraries took advantage of that time to plan, but I felt like it was such an odd time that it would skew what our plans would look like. And I didn't want that to happen. I wanted to wait, and we're still there, but we feel like now we're starting to shift a little. We're seeing bigger crowds coming through the doors, and I think we're in a better mindset to do it. What we did before, the planning for results, is sort of going to be mixed into this in some ways, mostly but we're not going to use it the same. The new planning for results is just out, and it looks a little different than it used to. They don't have specific target plans like they did in the other thing that they want us to design our own. So our focus is going to be on American Library Association's Our Libraries Transform campaign. They list trends in libraries across the country, and there's like 30 plus trends that we can choose from, identify. I think we'll shoot for probably 8 to 10 of those that we want to look at. There's some overlap, and there's also some clashing between the trends, which I like a little bit. There's some trends sort of almost are opposite of each other, which I think is okay. So the plan for us here is that the process will include input from you guys, input from city staff and library staff, and then from the community. And if anybody from the board really wants to be heavily involved or more involved, then we'll be sending around some information for you. And the biggest thing I'll be asking you for is to help me identify stakeholders in the community that you think we should talk to. One of the things that Becky's offered to do is interview, I believe she said 15. Then at one point she mentioned 20, but and then somebody talked her into doing more, and she said that was way too many, because these are like 20 to 60-minute conversations with people. And she's going to make all these phone calls in January. So what we're looking for is a really diverse mix of people. We're looking for people that mirror our library patrons and our community. So I'm gonna just put that in your head tonight to think about. If you have suggestions for people of different ages, different demographics, I would love to hear them, and I'll be sending out more and requesting a couple names from each of you soon. I'm also going to put this question to some of our city leaders, some of our city staff, department heads, and maybe some city council folks. The one thing that I suggested that she's going to do differently is in addition to those interviews, we're going to send out maybe 3 questions to you guys, to our city leaders, the city council, and our city department heads to answer as well, to kind of amalgamate that into it. So that will happen in January. And then in February, the staff will have their first meeting with Becky. She'll be looking at demographic information in North Liberty based on the census and in comparison to the responses we received from community members after those interviews. Another thing we're going to try that nobody else has tried, we're kind of a guinea pig, and she said she wouldn't do it with many libraries, but she feels comfortable doing it with us because we're a little bigger and a little more change oriented, is to maybe have a focus group or some kind of a circles training with teenagers so that they get their own say separate from the adults, because she said sometimes inviting them to the adult stuff doesn't always end up as well as she'd like. So we're going to try this. Erin's willing to try it with Kayla, and Erin has circles training. So that is a way for them to maybe safely be able to gather and give us information. So that's what we're hoping. So those things will happen in January. And then in February, we'll have our first meeting and decide if we think we need to do an additional community focus group where they actually come together, or if we're just going to take what we have and run with it. And at that time, then we'll start to organize the data, and I'll complete as much of the accreditation paperwork as I can and beg Scott to give us more time. There's lots of Scotts around. Give us more time for to do the thing. Probably we'll have to have it done by May, which is totally fine with our timeline. And then in March, we'll start to select those trends and see what they're going to look like and develop the goals. And by April to May, we'll be developing the goals and the objectives and activities that we want to do in line with the strategic plan. So that is sort of a down and dirty run of what we're planning. And like I said, if you think you'd like to be more involved, to come to any of those meetings or do more, please let me know. Just email me after you've thought about it, and we can figure out how that might look. Okay, the next thing is just to let you know the holiday closures. The 23rd this week through the Thursday through Sunday, both weeks are going to be closed. I think it'll be a really nice reprieve for all the staff. You know, typically our part-time staff work every weekend and cover those, and I think it'll just be nice for everybody to get a little bit of a break. It's been a tough couple of years for all of us, as I know you all know from your own lives, but I think in some ways when we're dealing with that trauma-informed frontline stuff, it can be pretty rough. So I think it'll be nice. I am actually flying out tomorrow to Arizona to visit my daughter and staying out there for a week with her. I think I'll probably just be packing and cleaning for her, but because she's moving, but that's okay. We'll be together. And then just on to the community update. I know I mentioned to you guys last month the Libraries and Resilience in Communities and plan, that's the grant that is being done by the University of Iowa researchers. We had a third meeting. We actually hosted that here at the library, and it was talking about the $50,000 in funding that they have to distribute. It has to be done in a pretty strict way. So basically what will happen is there'll be oversight from someone on that committee, but they'll be dispersing funds to different libraries depending on how we decide to go ahead. It was a very, very commonality. The commonality for what we want to do for the work is all social work related. And there were 3 different pieces to that. So I think that I'm really excited to continue that work. There were 3 librarians at that meeting, public librarians from the area. So we'll keep going forward with that, and I'll keep you apprised. Other professional activities, I submitted an article for publication to the American Library Association Social Responsibilities Roundtable that I am a part of. I actually had just posted a comment on another list, And someone, the head of that committee, saw it apparently and emailed me and asked me to if I would be willing to write an article. So I did that. I don't know if it will be published or not, but if anyone is interested, I would be happy to share that. It actually is in relation to just libraries as organizational allies in our communities, and particularly this month's article or newsletter or quarterly newsletter is focused on those re-entering citizens, like Amy was discussing. So, and then vice president duties are underway with the Association of Small and Rural Libraries. We are rural and small libraries. One of the things I have to do is serve on the finance committee, which is I do not relish, but it'll be really good for me to learn more about the organization that way. And then I am liaison to the advocacy committee, which I'm super excited about actually. So working with legislative information and trying to help our librarians advocate. That is exciting. Libraries as bridges is my next thing that I wanted to talk about. I don't believe I mentioned this at the last. Kelly met, connected with someone named Shemichael Hallman. He is from the Memphis Public Library, and she saw him on LinkedIn and connected with him. She is a LinkedIn master. It's crazy. She is a connector. And so she introduced me via email to him and his initiative, which is called Libraries as Bridges, and has to do with what they call reevaluating the civic commons. So how can libraries be common spaces for people to meet from all different backgrounds and connect and do work together? Memphis has some amazing initiatives going on in this area, but he wants to see this spread nationally. And they're helping do that work by helping libraries show their value to communities and how we get funding to support these types of things. So I did include his TED Talk in the board packet. It's fantastic. If you have a chance, it's 15 minutes to watch it. But we had a chance to meet with about 30 people across the country to be involved in that. And I volunteered to be a collaborator. They had 3 different levels of volunteer work, and the collaborator work will involve a toolkit that we're going to develop to share with other libraries, and creating 2 more roundtables like that first meeting. And I'm super excited about that. I'm not sure what Kelly volunteered to do actually, but she's on that group too, but I was very appreciative that she looped me in. And then Emily and Kelly and I presented in ARSL, as you know, and we were asked by the Central Kansas Library System to present the same policy presentation to them in January. And then we still somehow applied. We applied for the Iowa Libraries Conference online, and that conference is 2 days after the other one. So we will be masters of this presentation by the time those 2 are done. And we've got some tweaks that we've made to it since the first time we did it. So we're excited. And that brings us to the end of my stuff. And then we just have all the reports from all the different staff. So if anybody has questions or comments, please feel free. And if not,
No,
it's all
that's all good information. Thank you for sharing. All right. Mike or Scott, either of you have questions or comments about any of the reports? No? Okay, and
did you just, I don't know if you want to go back and revisit the minutes since Laura's here now, or how that works.
oh, hi Laura, how are you?
Hi, good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I was late. I ordered some food to go and picked it up and it wasn't ready. So I was waiting. But I'm here to help approve the previous month's minutes.
All right. Yeah, we want to circle back to that. Then I guess Laura's making a motion to approve November's minutes. If anyone would like to second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mike. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. All opposed would be no one, so those are approved for November, and then now we can do the policy review for the sex offender policy, which, like Jenny said, is pretty much all legal, so I didn't see that there were any changes made on the one in the board packet. But does anyone have questions or comments about the way the policy is written?
I'm assuming, Jenny, that there were no issues that came up in the last year.
No.
So I'd say I'd move that we approve the policy as written.
I second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
I,
Opposed the same. All right, well, we will approve the sex offender policy for another year. And was there any old business that was missed? I didn't see anything
so
this month. Any new business anyone wants to bring up?
I will just really quickly let you all know that, just for your own information more than anything, the last few weeks we've had basketball tournaments in the rec center, which poses a very, it's just busy. But this last weekend it had, or the weekend before last, a week ago, we had a lot of mask wearing issues that were stemming from people coming over from the rec, not wearing their masks, and sort of refusing or just turning around and going back into the rec center. And we had people coming in and asking why they had to wear their masks since they saw other people. And it was just sort of this, the staff was just kind of inundated with it. So we did make a decision, and I talked to Ryan about it, to just shut the doors and lock them when on that rec side, just as we had when we were in COVID and not wanting to have so much traffic between the two areas. So if people say anything to you or ask you about it, it's a safety issue. It's an inconvenience for folks to have to walk around, but it poses both a nuisance and a safety issue. So it's conduct related when it comes to them coming in the library without masks on. They're supposed to wear them every part of the building, but when you get that big of a crowd, it's just a very challenging for folks, and they're doing their best. But I think, and the organizers of the tournaments are supposed to be responsible for making sure people wear their masks. From my understanding, it was about a 40-60 split for people not wearing masks to wearing masks. So we will keep trying because it's not gone yet. So just in case anyone were to bring it up to you guys as board members, that you'll have a response that that's just what we're doing for safety purposes.
sounds good.
Letting us know. Very well.
So, I nominate that we approve this second policy on the sex offender against minors application.
Oh, the appendix B.
Yes,
Yes, sorry, I didn't know if, since it was an appendix, I didn't know if I needed to put that on the agenda or not, since it was kind
I
of
don't know
timed.
if you do or not, or if you
I
can just
wasn't sure.
together.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if if it already approved since we approved the policy, or
Yeah,
does it need to be
probably
approved
already
separately?
approved.
All right. That's all I have for you today.
All right, would anyone like to make a motion to and adjourn our meeting for the month?
I so
Um,
move.
I second that.
All right, well, our next meeting is scheduled for January 17th.